Good afternoon from the BBGA. I'm Mark Bailey. This is the first of a series of videos that we're working with GearUp TV. This is a collaboration to make sure we're informing our members what's going on during the current pandemic. What we're hoping to do is cover a whole series of topics during these videos. I'm fortunate today that we're going to be starting with insurance. I'd like to welcome our guest, who's James Morton, who's the Executive Client Director for Hayward's Aviation, which is Arthur J. Gallagher in the UK Limited. So, James, how are you today?
Hi, Mark. Yeah, we're good, thank you. Enjoying this nice spring weather and the ability to dress down for a few weeks. So, all's good.
Yeah, it's nice. We're not quite matched, but we're not too far off. So I just hope the members don't mind us looking too relaxed in our current settings.
I think it's a new normal, Mark.
It's a new normal, and maybe we'll learn from it and actually take it forward for doing work in the future. People seem to be liking this as a mode. Anyway,
yeah, they do.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut across.
No, okay.
Taking that point from your organisation, you obviously saw this coming like many people. What have you done in advance of this to plan how you do business?
Yeah, I mean, obviously every business has a disaster recovery plan and that kind of thing. So that was swung into action. Specifically talking about the aviation sector, but it affects the entire insurance sector with UK Lloyd's and other insurers ran contingency plans and work from home about 10 days prior to the lockdown and are now operating to effective capacity. Hayward's Arthur J. Gallagher ran remote working trials as well before the lockdown, and all the staff are fully operational, able to handle renewals, midterm adjustments and any new business inquiries. Business still goes on. From the general insurance sector, there's been some press attention regarding cover for loss of business as a result of the COVID-19 lockdown. This is going to be an ongoing issue for industry to resolve collectively. We have customers who have business insurance, as well as pubs, clubs and restaurants. I heard today that one of the UK car insurers announced that they're looking to agree a special return for car owners as a result of reduced exposure. So I guess less cars on the road mean less potential accidents. Yeah,
it does seem to make sense, but it's really nice to see an insurance sector reacting. I did see one coming through today to mention that was something as an offer. So it is really nice to see people doing things without being pushed. One of the real things that's probably making people a little unsettled is market values of aircraft and the impact that may have. How are you dealing with that as an insurance sector?
There's nothing specific as an issue for the aviation insurers at the moment. The reason being is that aircraft are insured on the agreed value basis rather than market value. So what that means is if the purchase value of the aircraft is, say, $10 million, that is what we'd insure it for on an agreed value basis. So in the event that the aircraft is destroyed, they will get a full payment of 10 million, as opposed to insured or market values. If it's destroyed, average will be applied, and therefore you would only get a percentage of the value of that vehicle. Also, many aircraft are purchased via financed arrangements, so finance providers continue to require owners operators to maintain adequate insurance levels to the loan amount, and not so much more variable current market value. So not a big impact at the moment, but I think time will tell.
James, even before the current pandemic, there have been certain shocks in the market, like we had with the 737 MAX and other things that have impacted even before that. I just wondered, what effect might that have on the underwriting market going forward? Is there likely to be a profound effect? What do you think?
Well, there's been quite a seismic shift over the last couple of years with the insurance market. I think there's a bit of history, starting back in late 2017. There's been a worldwide trend in aviation insurance premiums across all classes to increase. In 2019, we tracked the average global general aviation rate increases to be around about 20% up on 2018 rates. So the industry has been a soft market for several years, and 2017-18 really was the turning point after probably 10-15 years of soft market conditions, production, automatic rate reductions, etc., etc. So capacity providers have been demanding better returns, and this has led to a decline in the number of underwriters units in 2018-19, as well as then trends for increases of premiums. So this was all happening prior to the pandemic. So in 2020, as I said, prior to COVID-19, we're already seeing increases in the region of 20 to 30% in many cases, maybe in excess of 50%. Yeah, so 2019, it was one of the worst years in recent times for aerospace losses, including obviously the big one, which is the 737 MAX grounding. That's insured in the market, and that's a huge bill, several billions of dollars. You compound that with the actual accidents of Ethiopian Airlines and Lion Air and a terrible loss of life with that, which happened long before the actual grounding of the Boeings. And then we've had a spate of high-profile, what you might call general aviation losses that are proving to be expensive, and replicate this across the world. It's obviously not just the UK. There's a lot more accidents happen that are not reported in the mainstream press, obviously. So the impact of COVID-19 is unlikely to change the already upward trajectory of market rates. And even in 2020, after an average increase of 25%, it will only be comparable to what was paid in pounds and dollars over the 2012-2013 period. So it's going to continue moving upwards. We'll see what other maybe losses the pandemic may bring, but we don't expect a huge change in the trend.
James, that's interesting. Another aspect that would be nice to consider is, clearly we've got a lot of aircraft grounded at the moment. As we go through that and come out the other side, do you think we're going to be seeing different insurance claims as a consequence of that?
Yeah, it's a good question, Mark. I've thought about this a bit. It's a hard one to predict. It's reasonable to assume that obviously once the shutdown is lifted, the operators and private pilots will want to assume safe flying, safe as in social distancing and what have you. Everybody flies safely, obviously. So the losses shouldn't be any different than before shutdown, but these are unusual times, so we just have to see. I think we just have to wait and see what comes about.
Yeah, I remember sort of in a former life getting caught with a number of aircraft on the ground and suddenly finding that I'd had the wings planished with hailstones, and on what looked like a nice simple completion of a check suddenly turned into leading edges. So you never can tell what's going to happen.
No, exactly. And we got, obviously certain aircraft or put on ground periods have to revert to some sort of care and maintenance type program. So again, I know that aircraft are running through regular maintenance still. So I think, keep an eye on the aircraft, make sure it's as airworthy as you can keep it under the current circumstances, and just double check everything before you resume flying.
Yeah, it's a good thing. At least it keeps the engineers occupied. So there's some upside to that.
Yeah, definitely.
On a different angle, I think you probably will have been in the middle of some transactions in terms of sale and purchase, and there may even be people going through that during this period. What are you seeing?
Yeah, again, another good question. I mean, I'd imagine there's probably some decline in purchase and leasing at the moment. However, from an insurance perspective, we tend to get involved further down the line of the negotiation process rather than at the very early stages. However, having said that, I was working on a number of potential new purchases. I'm still in touch with those potential owners and the finance and the lawyers. So things do seem to be moving forward, probably a bit more slowly because of the global financial uncertainty. But financial providers are still going to require these assets to be insured. So, and leasing companies are still going to want these assets insured. So what if they're committed down the line? I guess the only things that would slow the actual completion of purchase, maybe some additional financial checks, maybe the actual owners themselves looking at the global economy. And also you've got to forget, there are some airspace restrictions, so aircraft may not be able to get delivered timely, and you can have a restriction on the actual pilots themselves being able to get to those aircraft.
Yeah, just a little more complexity than we're used to dealing with an already complex subject. So
exactly.
See what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Calm heads is the key for the time being, I think.
And talking about calm heads, what do you think that, looking forward as far as our BBGA members, should they be thinking about things that they have to do and prepare in order to fire up correctly? And I don't just mean the airworthiness. Are there things they should be covering in the insurance world?
Yeah, yes. Obviously it's essential that all BBGA members and the wider community continue to arrange appropriate insurance for their business, their assets and operations. Whilst we recognise the flying risks are very much reduced, there's still a risk to the business. Like I mentioned before, damage in hangars, unoccupied buildings, that kind of thing. So I think, my advice would be to advise your broker of any reasonable, relevant change in their business exposures. First principle of insurance is always to act uninsured. And the aviation industry and Hayward, ourselves in particular, are actively supporting the sector. And we're working as hard as possible to help support our clients. But clients also need to support the insurers and brokers as well. So it's very important that we keep talking to our clients, they keep engaging with us and looking for updates and see what the future holds.
Oh, that's really good. Is there anything finally that you'd like to highlight for us to think about at all, to make your life easier, perhaps?
Well, aviation is something that works very well at communication. It's a key part of our industry, relationships, and I said, like, communication. So if a client has any questions or is uncertain of anything about insurance related, I encourage you to get in touch with your broker, whether telephone, Zoom, email, whatever it happens to be. Ask about any change or something that will not necessarily automatically cost more. So they could talk about asking for grounding insurance or what impact that could have. Again, bearing in mind things that may affect whether your insurer would decline a risk or adjust terms in some way. But don't be afraid to pick up the phone, chat to the broker about it. They'll be very well advised, very well placed to advise you correctly. I think the message is, if we know what you're doing, we can advise and adapt, and full disclosure is always definitely the best route to take.
I think you can't do better than end on that note. Thank you very much, James, for taking the trouble to share your thoughts with us for our first video of the series, and look forward to speaking to you again in the future. Thank you, James.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark, for asking me to be the first.